outside California West State. County Supervisor Norton Younglove is with us. Cheryl Cornwall of Cornwall Associates, the architect, is here. Also associated with that architectural firm is Leo Garcia. We'd like to have Leo here. Bishop McKell is here, and Vice Chancellor Bishop McKay, a former bishop before. Are there any other former bishops that got invitations that are here that we didn't get a chance to acknowledge? Conducting the Arlington Third Ward Choir this morning is Dave Johnson, and the choir will be accompanied by a guitar played by Mike Geiger. We will begin our services now with a song by the choir. Brother Johnson, if you will announce that. After the choir sings for us, the invocation will be given by Robert Plant.
The song we're going to do is called An Instrument in Thy Hands, and it's one of the winners of one of the church music contests back in 1982. It's words and music by Shirley T. Mullen.
Thy
Ricks, a number of people involved. We can't hear from all of them, but one of the members, one of the bishoprics during the time inception of this building is Brother Glenn Jensen. We'd like to hear from him.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. It's indeed a pleasure to be here on this beautiful sunshiny day. I'm glad it's like this today and not like it was Monday and Tuesday. We'd be in bad shape if it was like Monday and Tuesday. Some 6 years ago, Brother and Sister Chrissy Parker approached me and asked me if I would look around and find some land in which we could build what would become the Woodcrest Chapel. In my looking around, I looked at this parcel here in particular. There were two parcels just right over here off of Primeria that we looked at. And if you go right up Villa Los Caballeros right here, and up on that hill over there, there was a parcel that we looked at. And I think there was a couple others, but I really can't remember. Oh, right behind us over here, I talked to the people behind over here, but that parcel over there was going to be attractive homes, which I understand someday it's still going to be. But after viewing these several parcels with the High Council and State Presidency went around and looked at these parcels, and after viewing all the different parcels, this was the one that they chose to be the one for our site. And it seemed to be, at that time, going pretty well. I had contacted the owners of this particular parcel, and there were two firemen from Redondo Beach area who had purchased this parcel and had it divided into four parcels for homes. Well, they found out that they couldn't do what they wanted to do, so they wanted to sell it. There was not even a for sale sign on the property. But I had contacted them, and they were more than happy to sell the property at that time. So from that point on, the transaction went really, really well. It was smooth. We had a willing seller and a willing buyer that wanted to make the deal go through, and everything went just fine. And the escrow closed. We were the owners of the property. And then, in the meantime, I'd also talked with several county agencies about percolation and about water runoff and all the things that you need to be concerned about, and everything seemed to be going pretty well. When people from Utah came down, they looked at the parcel, and it was quite different than it is right now. If any of you can remember, been here earlier and had seen it, and the people from Utah were concerned about the grade of the parcel and whether it would be too expensive or so to develop the property. Well, that went along fine. That was finally decided to be okay. And then, as you know, many of you were involved in the cases where we had to go to the hearings and so forth, and the formidable opposition that we faced there. But through persistence and through faith and prayers, we finally come to this lot right here in Dakota. Famous Latter-day Prophet. This is the place. All that's passed now, and we've completed the things that the Lord has wanted us to do. And as I said, this is the place where we're going to build our new Woodcrest Chapel. And as we, as members, think back on the things that we've had to do, the sacrifices that we've had to make monetarily and spiritually and so forth, the fasting and prayer that's gone into this. And I hope that, and as we look at this edifice right now today, we're at ground level. But as we drive by, which I'm sure we all will, just to check out the progress of the chapel, and we see that the foundation has been laid and that the walls are starting to go up and the building is starting to lift itself above ground level, I would hope that we as members would in our own lives, lift our own selves to a greater spiritual plane and become closer to the Lord, just as this chapel is completed. And as we move into it, we will all become closer to the Lord through the things that we've made, the sacrifices that we've made, and so forth. I'd like to share my testimony that I know that this gospel is true, and I'm thankful for the opportunity I had of being a small part in the development of this Woodcrest Chapel here. And I hope that we will all take pride in this and as I mentioned, lift ourselves as this building grows up and that we will grow to a greater spiritual plane. I bear you this testimony in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Brother Jim. Bishop Eldon McKell, the current bishop of Arlington 3rd Ward, if he doesn't blow it or get called as the general authority by the time this building is completed, it might be that he'll be the bishop here. We'd like to hear from Bishop McKell. What do I have to do to blow it?
It's the first offer.
Yeah, if I could improve my golf score, maybe I could blow it that way. This is a beautiful day and a beautiful occasion. Whoop. Great day for speech making. How many of you can remember participating in construction projects and chapels where you didn't just go out and hire the contractor and watch the building progress, but you actually participated in the construction itself? How many can remember that? A lot of us have helped build these buildings. And it's a real pleasure to know, particularly as your bishop, that we don't have to organize work parties out here every night of the week and on Saturdays to build this building ourselves. Great tithing friends of the church play a tremendous role in us being able to construct and build this building as we will. Also, Woodcrest is no stranger to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Most of you probably know and remember that about 20 years ago, I'm not sure exactly, back in the 60s, the church bought several hundred acres right out here on Wood Road in Van Buren and planted orange trees and began a great citrus project, one that was a great contribution to the welfare program of our church. So we're not newcomers in being property owners and developers here in the Woodcrest area. Today we witness a great part of the church building program, not only here but throughout the world. Somewhere in the world, every day, an LDS chapel is dedicated. And on many days, there are two in one day. Tremendous growth in the Lord's church. One of the beauties of these dedications is that each time this happens, each time one of these buildings is dedicated throughout the world, they're debt-free. No encumbrance, no liens against the buildings that are dedicated to the Lord. And after all, how could you dedicate something and give it to the Lord if you don't own it? And so, the great program of the church to see to it that all these buildings are debt-free is a great blessing to us and a great blessing to the church and to the communities that we build these buildings in. Now let's think for a few minutes of some of the things that we're going to see this building go up. It's going to take about a year. I'm told this contractor has the reputation of bringing his projects in a little sooner than the completion project date, so a year from now or a little less, we ought to be moving in. Now, we need to set any goals for ourselves during this year so that we can be ready to move into this new edifice. I'd like to mention two or three things that I think we ought to consider and we ought to think about and act on. First of all, President Benson tells us, and even if he didn't tell us, we would know, we need to improve our reverence. We need to learn the real and true meaning of reverence. We must dedicate ourselves to a reverence program while we're in the building we're in now, so that we can enjoy
and the greater blessings of the Lord as we move into this sacred edifice. The Scriptures tell us that ye shall keep my Sabbath and reverence my sanctuary. And also, I'd like to read a little bit from you from a dedication of a building from the Scriptures, and let you get the feeling that the Lord has about one of His edifices. That my glory may rest down upon thy people and upon this thy house, which we now dedicate to thee, that it may be sanctified and consecrated to be holy, and that thy holy presence may continue in this house, and that all people shall enter upon the threshold of the Lord's house, may feel thy power, and feel constrained to acknowledge that thou hast sanctified it, and that it is thy house, a place of holiness. We must show to our neighbors here all around us that we are good neighbors. We need to show them that we understand the principle of love. The Scriptures tell us in John, by this ye shall know all men that ye are my disciples, if ye love one another. In Romans we're told, love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. And again in John, love one another, for love is of God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. Now, we need to show our love by our good works. We must show our love by the way we take care of this edifice. The maintenance and the care will keep this a place of beauty, a place of green lawns, a place of beautiful trees and shrubs, a place that by its very appearance tells this neighborhood and tells the world, there is a house of the Lord. Each of our homes should reflect that same thing. When people drive down the streets in our neighborhood, there's a Latter-day Saint house. Something that each of us should do and set an example for. Now, finally, we need to dedicate ourselves to the good things that are going to happen here. There's going to be a lot of missionary work done here. There'll be a lot of missionaries called to go out to serve throughout the world from this place. A lot of great scouters are going to go up through the scouting program here, and we're going to see a lot of Eagle Scouts come from this edifice and this building. We need to be great homemakers. We need to teach our sisters to be great homemakers in their homes. And we'll do that teaching here. We need to be great parents. The prophet tells us that no success in life can compensate for failure in the home. We need to understand how to keep away from having failure in the home. We need to set goals to be great husbands, great wives, great brothers and sisters. And we need to understand that the gospel of Jesus Christ will be taught here. We will teach here that Jesus is the Christ. And so this is a beginning, a beautiful beginning, a beginning that we should all enjoy and participate in and prepare ourselves that we may be able to enjoy the great blessing that will come to us in a year when we move in. Leave my testimony with you, as Brother Jensen has before me, that the gospel is true, that the things that are happening here are important, that the preparation that we need to go through is not only vital to us, but it's vital to this community, because we have a great contribution to make here. I leave that testimony with you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop McKell. J.D. Perkis, who is our physical facilities representative in the state, now watches over the buildings that exist here, and this will be one more for him to keep track of. We would like to hear from J.D.
like only yesterday that George and I were living in Hemet. I was working building houses there with a man by the name of Kurt Snowball. Kurt was a member of the church. We weren't at that time. Kurt was called to head the building program for the building that sits next to the stake center, which we refer to now as the old building. While he was working on that building over here, supervising that project, we became members of the church. At that time, we traveled over here to that building for all of our stake meetings. When a stake meeting was held, we drove that. We used to come up Van Buren here and turn off at the air base over there and drive up Van Buren. Lots of times you could drive this whole road and not see another car on the road. All rolling hills, rocks, and lots of wild oaks. That's about all that was in it in those days. Well, we moved over to San Jacinto and then over to Banning, and after that we moved over to Riverside here. It became part of the Arlington Ward here. We used to hold the stake conferences in the Riverside Auditorium. Sherman Building, which was a Sherman Indian branch at that time, was built. The stake offices were those back rooms. The stake president's office is where the Riverside 3rd branch, the deaf branch office is now. And after a while then, of course, the Rupa building was built, and then the new stake center. The stake was, we were part of Mount Rubidoux Stake. They built a nice big stake center first over there. And then we had a nice stake center to meet in for our stake conferences. Then the stakes were divided, and we became the Arlington Stake and the Mount Rubidoux Stake. The names were changed then to the Riverside Stake and the Riverside West Stake. The Corona split off and also became a stake. And we were all part at one time. But Bishop McKell mentioned about the orange trees here. That was one big project at that time. That we lived here and had a privilege of taking part in that. The first planting of trees was 56,000 trees that were planted on the upper part here. I was in on the planting of the first trees there. Large tractors go along with an auger drilling holes there. And trucks would come along, set off the orange trees, and we had a group of members of the church that was following along behind and set the trees into the hole, break the burlap ball there, and with our hands fill in the holes and plant the trees. And we were following right along as fast as we could go. The first day out here on the first planting of the trees, it seemed that my clothing wasn't quite adequate for the job. Quickly, I bent over quickly and the seam let go in the back of my pants. And you know what the undergarments look like. They're nice and white in contrast to dark pants. Well, not to be deterred, because it was all men doing the planting and it was out here in the wide open spaces, no one around. I just kept right on planting trees. And suddenly I became aware of a clicking noise. There was a general authority that came out for the opening, and they were following along, and there was a cameraman taking pictures of me. And here my backside was, and he was standing, and I was bent over right here, and he was talking, and they were photographing him. Talk about the anxious days that I spent waiting to see those pictures and see if they edited that and cut it out. Thankfully they did. That part, when it came to that particular part, it was just deleted. But it's my hope and prayer that we can become, as Bishop McKell says, real loving neighbors here to the people here. We can be an asset to this neighborhood, show love to them, learn to love one another here, and that this building, as it has been in the past in other areas, will be an asset to the community, will be accepted as part of the community, and be loved as part of the community, and be able to help the community. The Irish sort of have a word for that sort of thing. I don't know if it's appropriate this time to say it, but they have a little saying that says, "May those that love us, love us, and those that don't, may the Lord turn their hearts." if not their hearts, their ankles, so that we might recognize them by their walk. I pray that we won't have people around here with crooked ankles in this area. I'm grateful to be a part of this work, and it isn't man's work that's going on here, even though there's a lot of sweat that goes into this project. It's the Lord's work that's going on here. I bear you this testimony in the name of Jesus Christ.
Thanks, Brother Perkins. Cornwall and Associates, an architectural firm, has the responsibility and has been given the contract for the architectural work of this building. And with us is Cheryl Cornwall. We'd like to hear from you.
This is certainly a nice way to spend a Saturday morning. Pleased to be here. I have great respect for the president, presidency, and stake leaders with whom I've had the opportunity to associate somewhat closely over the past 3.5 years in North College. In giving this assignment, I thought I would check the dictionary on groundbreaking. It says there to break the ground, that is to pierce the soil for the first time. Groundbreaking has taken on some figurative meanings as well. One is to take the first step. You members relate to that. You're glad to see this first step taken. Another is to enter upon an undertaking. I think the contractor probably relates to that meaning. The time we were designing the Arcadia Hill building, during the construction, the Church of the Nazarene also was into the building program, for a rather large building to accommodate their congregation of 10,000. A friend of mine was chairman of their building committee, and we, on different occasions, talked about how our separate building programs were handled. He was quite concerned with the financial arrangements, because their church went into great indebtedness in the form of bonds that would be paid back through the contributions of the members and through passing the plate. This reminds me of a story of a sectarian church back east where they had invited a missionary to come and speak one Sunday. In the audience, in the congregation, was Mark Twain. Mark Twain tells about it. The subject was the poor natives with whom this missionary had been working and how they needed the gospel. As the sermon started out, it went through Mark Twain's mind that 50-cent contribution he was going to make really should be $1. And he went on to $5. Further impressed to write a check for a goodly sum. The sermon went on and on, and the check went back to $5, and down to $1, to 50 cents, and the sermon finally concluded. The plate was passed, and Mark Twain says he took 10 cents out of it. Such are the woes of fundraising. My friend, of course, was very impressed to know that our building was paid for when they're dedicated. Cornwall Associates is very thrilled to be a part of the church building program, literally helping to build the kingdom. Gary Bronson headed our division for a number of years and was instrumental in the early stages of this project and design and carrying it through the national use permit. Associated with him was Leo Garcia. We're very indebted to Leo in the good work he does for us in that division. I think it would be appropriate, of course, to hear Leo at this time.
you know. Their brothers and sisters, I want you to know that I am grateful to be associated with this project. I guess it was about 2 years ago when Cheryl and Gary and President Parker got together and decided that they wanted to go in association to build, construct this rather conservative building. And I remember that I was sent, this was about the same time that the La Sierra building was contracted for, and I remember they sent me to take pictures of both sides. And I went to the site in La Sierra, and that's the perfect site, beautiful. Took pictures of it. Then I came down to look for this site. I had a little bit of trouble finding it. And as I was driving down Washington, I said, I don't think it's the right place, but I'll keep on going. And then I came to the site, and I recognized it, and I looked at it, and I looked at the granite rock that was there, and I think I knew what the requirements would do with the place now. But, and I wondered, is this what they really want to build, a church? But now as I sit up here and look at this, it is absolutely gorgeous. And we did have some problems, we did have some challenges, and I remember walking the streets there at night after work with Brother Jensen and Brother Byers and Brother Maples, talking to the neighbors because there was some opposition to our plan. And I remember going to the hearings, and some of you remember going to the hearings, and we had some opposition, we had some uncomfortable confrontations. But I want you to know that as we went and knocked on some of these doors, we found some very beautiful people. You do have good neighbors here. There may be one or two that may be a little antagonistic to the project. And as you can see, they have been announced. I don't know how many of you saw that sign, the construction sign, and the graffiti on it. But I want you to know that it is a beautiful neighborhood. It is a good neighborhood. The site is beautiful. It's incredible how much effort has gone into it from so many different aspects. We had help from the members, of course. I'm sure it was a challenge. We've heard said that in our church we pay for our buildings before we constructed. The funds for this building were in a fund were appropriated and set apart before we even broke ground on this project. So it's paid even before we break ground. But I'm sure that some of you had to sacrifice, at least suffer some inconveniences to come up with your donation for the building fund. There had to be some foresight from the local priesthood leadership to find the sites and to decide, yes, this is the site. They had to pray about it. Then, of course, there was the challenge of getting it through the county, the zoning, and there were some challenges there. We did have cooperation from the personnel in the county, and of course we had a lot of cooperation and support from the Board of Supervisors because it did get up to that point. The project's not finished yet, it's just beginning, and I imagine there will be a few challenges here and there. There always are during construction problems, but I'm sure we will be able to solve it. Be grateful for your building, respect it, honor it, and don't be discouraged if there are any little problems that might come up. The building will be completed, you'll be able to meet in it, and it will be a beautiful site. I just can't believe how beautiful it is now as I see it now. After we removed those rocks, we were worried about those rocks over there. And it cost a lot of dollars to remove them, but we finally removed them. And the site will be surrounded by trees. So if you don't know where the church is, you may have to look for it really close. Because the site will be surrounded by trees, and as you see, the site, there's quite a bit of drop. There's almost better than 25-foot drop from the beginning of the site on the west end, from the east end to the west end. And that was one of the things that I think helped us greatly for planning, because it would not be obstructing a great deal. And it's just a beautiful site, and I'm so grateful to be associated with it. I know this is the Lord's work, and I live this testimony in the name of Jesus Christ.
As you've heard from the last two speakers, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort before the building actually gets underway. Supervisor Norton Younglove, Norton, not Norman, this is with the program, my apologies, is no stranger to the building in Riverside County. He's very familiar with the woes and the progress of this particular project. Be pleased to hear
Thank you. Good morning. Mark Twain, as perhaps you know, was an atheist, and therefore we probably can forgive him for losing his faith before the completion of the sermon. I think, on the other hand, it might serve as a reminder to all of us privileged of speaking this morning that we should not unduly tempt the weakening of the faith of the good people here. I think one of the key reasons it's located here is that, not for the first time nor the last time either, Charlotte Gallo prayed not only for my soul but my vote. And one of her strongest arguments was that she would no longer have to befoul the air by driving to chapel. She could walk. And I'm sure she'll be happy to be here and help those constructing at any time they need her assistance. I am really honored as an elder in the Presbyterian Church to be able to share with you all this very, very happy moment, and perhaps I'm here partly to remind all of us, as we look at the beautiful sky, the hills, these wonders of our Lord, that we are, all of us, children of God, His only Son, Jesus Christ. And in that respect, as well as all others, I know that your chapel, your active involvement, your presence is going to make an important difference in our community of Woodcrest. It's going to be a totally positive difference. And I think we could all share in praying this building, once completed, will last and continue to serve the Lord much longer than any of us remain in this place, and know with full knowledge the Lord Himself, being eternal, will last completely beyond even this building. Thank you again for this opportunity to share this morning with you.
Thank you, Supervisor Younglove, for those nice remarks. We'll now be pleased to turn the time over and hear from the person.
Thank you, Brother Eggs, and it's a real pleasure to be here to share the speaking time with these great men that have been here. In my dealings with Supervisor Younglove, I found him always to be a gentleman. I'm happy that he is our supervisor in this area. With Brother Cornwall, when our dealings with him is when he's been our executive secretary to our regional representative for the last 3.5 years, what a great joy it's been to work with him and with other folks. Brother Cornwall usually talks about a song. He's, as you know, he's a very talented musician. And his father is, if I get this right, Brother Cornwall, is J. Spencer Cornwall, who for years and years and years was associated with the Tabernacle Choir in Salt Lake and was involved in the broadcasting. So he comes by his great talents on it. Brother Garcia, twice a bishop, first time for 5 years in an English ward, and then he was transferred to a Spanish ward right shortly afterwards, as I understand. And the great counsel that he has there, not only in architecturally, but also in spiritual manner. Bishop McKay, what a great leader he has served and has been his growth times in the ward and in the area. Bishop McKay, you know his great talent, his love for the people, and his ability to get things going and organized. Brother Jensen was very instrumental in locating this site. He pursued and persisted where it would have been easy to give up and say we just couldn't go ahead, but he was building more than just his work. He was building something that has a spiritual connotation. Brother Fana, you all know and love him and how he can get things going. And Brother Perkis has a great responsibility not only on maintaining the buildings, but also on the construction of them. And he meets monthly with the Brother Garcia and Brother Rasmussen and the others as they go over the works of this construction. Mention's been made of the great work here, the beauty of this area. When the Lord first commanded when our Father in heaven commanded the Savior, who was to become the Savior, Jehovah and Michael, to go down and to organize the earth, it wasn't to be done at random. The Lord, or our Father in heaven, had a plan. And He is the master architect. He is the master physicist, the master chemist. He had an understanding of all these things, things that are necessary, things in which we should be preparing ourselves so that we can also become much more knowledgeable in all these different areas. There was a plan that was worked out, blueprints to be followed, and the organization of this very earth. As we look around us now, we can enjoy this. The snow-capped mountains off in the distance here and off on this side. The beauty of the area around us here. This all is also according to the master plan. As we look at the plans for this particular building, you see some of the smaller drawings on the sheets that have been distributed. You'll see that there's some very different plans that are being followed. That the Lord's work is not done haphazardly, but there is a master plan to be followed. He has also given us a master plan and a plan to follow for each of us. He is more concerned, I think, about our spiritual building of our own soul than He is about the physical buildings. However, we can learn from those plans. The Lord's plans are not haphazardly given to us. They are given to us with a purpose. I pray that as we watch this building go up, that each of us will look at our own souls and evaluate where we are and where those people are over whom we have stewardship, as home teachers, visiting teachers, and whatever calling we may have, to help them, that they might be able to see their spirit rise within them, that this building will rise from this foundation which is set before us. I am proud of all the work that is going on here. And I hope that each of us will look to the future, that in the next year, next 2 years, next 3 years, that our own lives will be in such order that we'll be able to come to this building with pride, be able to bring people to this as well, and to show them of the work that is being done here. Be proud of this edifice. I know that the gospel is true, and I know the work that we're preparing, the work that we're doing, is of the Lord. And I pray that in each of our hearts, that we will have that knowledge, and have that satisfaction that we have served well. It is now my opportunity to give the closing prayer and the groundbreaking prayer. And I'll proceed at that now.
Anybody want to take a picture? Here we go. Zach's behind him.
Appreciate that. Just a minute, okay? How convenient that they have their pile of dirt ready.
All right! Hey! That's teamwork.
You see a lot with ready-made dirt.
Just backwards now. Okay. Don't fall in, President Parker. One more time. Okay, we're going to have an instant replay. Slow motion. Go. Hey!